Almost there. One more setting. And one more piece of the unique is operational.
One down, 1 million to go. Speaking of which, boss, I found exactly none of the parts you wanted. A whole day at the junk pile, and all I turn up are a locker and some stupid conduits. Maybe next time. Boss, are you sure you got those settings right?
That came from down in engineering. Let's go.
Boss, maybe we should...
Hi, this is Dave Gilbert, the head CEO, whatever, of Wadjedi Games. You have activated commentary mode for Primordia. Those of you who have played our previous games know the drill by now. There'll be B and C icons scattered throughout your screen as you play. B for bloopers, C for commentary. And you'll also be interrupted like this while you play to get some extra information about a particular point that you're playing at. We're doing things a little bit differently this time, as you will not just be hearing from me, you'll also be hearing from the programmer, the artist, the composer, and the writer. So everyone's going to chime in, there'll be a lot to talk about, so let's get started.
Hey, I'm Mark Yohalam, and I did the story, puzzles, and dialogue for Primordia. I've worked on a lot of games in the past, but Primordia was the first adventure game I've ever finished. It's also the first game where I really had complete creative freedom. As we go along, I'll have a lot to say about design choices that we made in the course of building Primordia, but right now I just want to introduce myself. The first adventure game I ever played was Loom, and it completely hooked me. Some of my other favorites are Monkey Island 2, Grim Fandango, the Broken Sword series, and a fairly obscure game called Dragon Sphere. I also really like the Quest for Glory series, but that's more of a role-playing game hybrid. I guess I could claim to be a professional computer game writer, but the truth is I'm a lawyer. Computer games are just something that I work on in my free time, and I really don't have that much of it these days between work, a wife, 2 kids, and a mortgage. Anyway, enough about me. Start playing the game, and as we go along, we can talk more.
Hello, I'm James Panas, and I'm the programmer in Primordia, and I probably have the least interesting things to babble about.
Hey, this is Victor Flug from Wormwood Studios, co-creator of Primordia and art guy for the game. I'm going to be providing some commentary on the environmental art and the sprites throughout Primordia, and yeah, thanks for playing as well. I hope you enjoy the game.
Boss, maybe we should see what's happening in engineering?
There's no time for that. There's no time. There's no time. There's no time. We need to get to engineering.
Logan Cunningham, who plays Horatio, needs no introduction, especially if you're familiar with indie games and a game called Bastion, which won 1,000 awards and is really well known for the narration. A character named Rux does the narration, and that was narrated by Logan Cunningham. And that game basically is known for his voice. And I was introduced to Logan through Sarah Almale, who plays Clarity. For our previous game, Resonance, I needed a guy who could do that kind of low, gruff voice and who could sound natural at the same time. And she recommended Logan. She said, would you be interested in working with him? And of course, knowing his work on Bastion, I leapt at the chance. And he was so great to work with on Resonance that I knew that he was the guy to play Horatio. And I brought him in, I think, 2 or 3 times, getting different auditions each time, and sending it to the Primordia team and saying, I am going to bring this guy in as often as it takes for me to convince you that this is the guy. And it didn't take that many times, but they liked him, and so he ended up being cast in the part, and I thought he was wonderful. When we released Gemini Rue in early 2012, it was such a success and did so well that I thought it would be a good idea to try publishing other games, Gemini Rue being a game that we had just published, we didn't write ourselves. So I looked around for other games that showed a lot of promise, but where the developers might not have had the experience or the time or the motivation to get it finished and get it out. And we found 3. We found Icebox's Danu Guys, we found Vince 12's Resonance, and Wormwood's Primordia. And that's how we got involved with them. And what really attracted me to this game was the art style. It is just one of the most uniquely visual games on our roster. I like to say that its art style is different because it actually has one. The art in this game tells half of the story. The old gritty mechanical structures and devices, the complete blasted wasteland, it tells half the story, and it creates most of the atmosphere and feeling you get when playing the game, and that's what really attracted me to this in the first place.
There's no time for that. There's no time.
Boss?
Crispin, get behind me. Who are you and what do you want?
Power.
I think he wants the power core, boss.
Stop right there. This ship belongs to me.
Forfeit. Enemy. Plunder.
I don't think he's too keen on private property.
Get away from the power core.
Forfeit.
When you have an essentially cerebral main villain like Metromind, it's important to have a henchman who creates a serious physical threat. That henchman can act as a kind of embodiment of the cerebral villain and give the player something to actively fight against during the course of the game. You see this motif used a lot in James Bond movies, where you'll typically have a villain like Goldfinger and then he'll have a henchman like Oddjob. It's also pretty commonly used in comic books. Here, with Scraper, the idea was that you would have this character who keeps interfering with your progress, and every time you have to fight Scraper or he takes something away from you, it reminds you of the conflict that started the game and gives you a sense of continuity as you go through the obstacles over the course of the game.
Boss? Boss? Horatio? Come on, Horatio, wake up!
Ugh.
Whew, you're okay.
What happened?
Well, Big Ugly threw you out of the ship. And then he said plunder, again. And then he left with our power core.
Basad.
Yep,
How much charge have you got?
10%. You?
I'll be fine. We just need to get the emergency generator up and running. I told you it needed to be repaired.
Or we could just go to Metropole, city of glass and light. Free energy for one and all.
Don't believe everything you hear. Metropole is trouble. But if you want to go, you've got free will in a maglev unit.
With that guilt subroutine you put in me, I wouldn't even make it halfway.
Actually, with a 10% charge, you wouldn't even get that far. So I suggest we get the generator working.
One problem with voice acting and having a lot of really dramatic, emotionally charged scenes at the very beginning is that you're not really into the character as much. You haven't really grown into it. You don't have the cadences, the energy. It's just not there. And one of my mistakes was having Logan record these sequences where he's getting attacked by Scraper and everything, recording those at the very beginning. It was like the first thing in the script, and no one was really happy with how it came out, and so I decided to wait until the very end. I decided to make the very first thing Horatio says, I decided to go back and make it the very last line that Logan recorded. So these sequences here, the last words that Logan spoke while doing the VO for this game.
You and your projects.
Man built us to build, Crispin. Now, come on.
The challenge with the introduction is how to convey a lot of information to the player very quickly and efficiently. So we had to set up the world, we had to set up the characters of Horatio and Crispin, let the player know that those characters were scavengers who gathered junk out of the wasteland. We had to introduce an antagonist, and we had to set up a reason why the heroes had to go on their quest. Since this isn't a typical kind of good versus evil story, it can't just be the rise of some demon that they're going off to stop. In this case, it's something much more personal, which is that they need to get back the power core that they need to survive. This was inspired by the game Fallout, which of course starts with the hero having to go out into the wasteland to get back the water chip that the vault needs. Here, however, it's even more personal because it's not that you're trying to help other people who live in your home, it's that you're trying to help yourself.
I can't move this without some kind of crane, which I certainly don't have time to build now. I must have dropped the data pouch when I was thrown out of the unique. Assad, its memory got wiped. Easy enough to add the good old junk pile's coordinates back in, though.
You know, boss, if you're ever wondering what I would do, feel free to just ask.
I'll keep that in mind.
The hint system has been a great accomplishment to me in Primordia. Basically because it's a static library of hints that judge the situation in the game regarding on how the player has progressed and what has he solved, and provide the hinting required.
Maybe I'm just a sucker for flashing, but then my mouth is crazy. Okay. Was it not? Was it not perfect? In fact, fuck it. You don't even need to record anything else, because I've now given you everything you could ever need. Cancel the rest of the Blackwell series. My work today will never be surpassed. Alright.
Crispin's sprite design, character design, or whatever, has been around for a long, long time. I think it was maybe the third or fourth robot I drew for Primordia. Originally he had just like 3 orange eyes. This is before he was actually Crispin. I was just drawing random robots and stuff, and Mark came up with a character of Crispin, and we needed a sprite kind of placeholder, and I threw this little kind of spinning top looking guy. Not the most unique design in the world, but I don't know, there's something about it I kind of liked. And eventually we kind of wanted to get, I don't know, a little bit more emotion into Crispin's character, and I thought that just these 3 lights on his head weren't really portraying that all that much, so I did some more design sketches, messed around with the concept, and came up with a view of kind of the blue screen he has, which is actually like a cathode ray tube or something like that Horatio's scavenged from out of the dunes. It's definitely good old analog technology. There's a lot of analog tech in Primordia.
I can't pick that up.
Is that a gumball machine?
No, it's a robot's head.
Ah, I wanted a gumball.
Vic and I both have a thing for old school games, and one of the things that old school games required the player to do was keep careful notes of the things he learned as he went along. You would then need to use those notes to solve puzzles down the line. The problem with that approach is that it can create a Walking Dead situation, where even though the player as a character learned something earlier in the game, the player as a player didn't write it down, and so he can't advance. And then even though the player is technically still alive, he has to reload some older game in order to learn the information, and then he can go back to his later saved game. We didn't want to have that kind of arrangement here. We wanted to use a more LucasArts approach where you never have a Walking Dead situation, but we still wanted to capture some of the feel of the note-taking. Initially, Vic actually coded a system where you could type notes into an electronic notepad, basically. But that wasn't particularly effective because the times when you got the information was in a dialogue sequence, and the notepad couldn't really be used in a dialogue sequence because it overwrote the screen. So we ended up using the automatic note-taking function, but we really didn't want to turn into something like a quest log in modern role-playing games that basically just acts as a walkthrough. So we filled it up with a lot of dummy information as well, things that the player would probably have written down in an old school game, but which ultimately doesn't prove to be necessary in this game. As a result, the player can't just assume that everything in his data pouch is a solution to some puzzle down the line.
The data pouch is registered to me. The data pouch. It's a segment of Gordium electrical conduit. I can't just scoop it up. Futile. I don't want to get that dirty. I'll need to get a closer look to see how it fits.
Throughout the game, we used these beautiful UIs that Vic drew, not really to create more difficult puzzles, because the interactions with them really aren't puzzle-like, so much as just to create a tactile feel to the game. So when you look at a monitor that contains information, rather than just having Horatio say the information out loud, instead you see a close-up of the monitor with the information there. When you go to repair the emergency generator, it's not like it's hard to figure out where to put the spark plug or the conduit, but letting you actually put them in place rather than just use them on a hotspot of the generator and the normal walking around screen really makes the player feel, I don't know if immersed is quite the right word, maybe just more engaged with the game.
I'll need to get a closer look. I'll need at least 5 pieces to be able to build a conduit long enough to run the generator to the unique. How would that even work? It's not going to do anything until the... It's not going to do... A sturdy cable. It's the unique's tag. Without it, I'd have never known the ship's name.
Apparently, building a giant airship doesn't require proper spelling.
Apparently not. There's supposed to be a power-bearing conduit between this socket and the ship, but I never got around to putting one together.
Now who's the procrastinator?
It's a data cable, not a power cable. Crispin, when I told you to find a new spark plug, did you just shove my conductive putty into the old one?
Maybe.
No wonder the generator isn't working. At least the putty is still good. The generator is missing. I'll need at least 5 pieces to be able to build a conduit long enough. More Gordium conduit. There's no way I can reach that.
So, what exactly do we need?
Some conduit and a new spark plug. Could you grab that lantern?
Sure thing, boss.
You know, I always wanted to be able to fly. That's why I built you with a maglev unit.
Not so that you could store tools on hard-to-reach ledges?
Well, that too. There's no way I can reach that.
That's way too big for me to get, boss, and you know it.
The hatch is unresponsive. The hatch is totally unilluminating. A reliable electric lantern that I cobbled together years ago. A good length of heavy-duty cable designed for carrying data. A small lump of electrically conductive putty. Totally unilluminating.
I don't really want to try that.
The hatch is unresponsive. How would that even work? I don't want to get... I can't move this without some kind of... Nothing worth selling. I can't... I can't see anything to do with it. It's 3 pieces of Gordium conduit. Unfortunately, one of them is completely corroded and worthless. It's locked tight. Better just to leave it alone. There's a piece of Gordium conduit way back there. Crispin, can you go in there and get that piece of conduit?
I suppose. That would have been a lot easier with hands, boss.
It's just... I picked it clean years ago. It's locked tight. Totally
Yep, that's the one I found. Yep, that...
I can't see anything to do with it. There's nothing worth bothering with. It's just scrap. It's just scrap. won't work until they're locked together. Five segments of Gordium conduit. It won't work until they're locked together. Not a bad idea, but it can't carry enough of a charge, and it isn't sticky enough to hold them in place. It's a data cable. Totally. I doubt that will have it. All it would do is gum them up, not hold them. The putty's sticky enough already. Not a bad idea, but it can't carry enough of a charge, and it isn't sticky enough to hold them in place. That's never... Futile. Futile. Totally This is no time for... Without power from the ship, the telescope won't work.
Bad timing with those repairs, huh, boss?
It's too dark to see. Good thing there's still some power in the circuit.
Boss, shouldn't you have thought of that before coming down here? We could have been stuck.
I could have just ridden you back to the deck.
Really?
No. Routing that much power to your maglev unit would cause it to explode.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. I couldn't find a working fuse to solve the problem.
I'm a floating bomb. I'm a floating bomb. Sweet.
It couldn't hurt to bring the gospel of man with us.
Going to pray for a miracle, boss?
We are man's miracle, Crispin. Let's hope that's enough. I don't need to bring these with...
After all, boss, life is... So that's where you keep it.
Why were you looking for my plasma torch?
No reason.
Time for a little welding.
Wow, that was easier than I thought it would be.
The controls for this hatch are unresponsive. I can't pick that up. This is no time. Only a little sliver left before the moon wanes entirely.
Well, I'm glad we're not the only ones running out of power.
The generator is missing a spark plug. Welding those parts together would ruin the generator.
What about using the plasma torch as a spark plug?
When I want engineering advice, I'll consult a manual. That's never going to work. That's never going to... I've read enough. Next time I tell you to fix the emergency generator, maybe you'll listen to me.
Next time I tell you that I can't fix the emergency generator without arms, maybe you'll listen to me.
Fair enough.
That's... That's great. That's...
Crispin, could you reattach that engine to the unique?
Very funny, boss.
Let's cut a little. No need to cut it again. How would that even work? Totally unbelievable. That's never going to work. Totally There's no reason to cut that, or burn it, or weld. Still locked. I can't see anything to do with it. I picked it clean.
That's great. You know, boss, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing. Oh. Is that really the best idea you can come up with, boss? How about this time you go play fetch, boss? I'm not doing that until you build me... I don't really...
There's nothing worth... Still locked. It's reinforced steel. Let's see if this works.
Is that a spark plug, boss? Who locks up a spark plug?
Actually, I think that box was some kind of machine.
You killed it!
Recycled it. I guess it was actually some kind of machine. I'm pretty sure it was already dead, though.
I thought we were in trouble when Big Ugly stole our core. But just like that, problem solved.
The problem is not solved.
Well, I agree. The noise leaves something to be desired.
This is an emergency generator, Crispin.
Well, it was an emergency, boss.
It only runs for a few days, if that.
Oh. Well, do we have another one?
No, which means it still is an emergency.
Well, in that case, first dibs on the recharge station. So, what's the plan, boss?
We need to recover our power core.
Or we could just take the train to Metropole and live in luxury.
First of all, there is no train to Metropole. And second, even with full charges, we can't just walk there. But more importantly, I hate that city. It's in my core logic. I don't know why, but I can't change it.
Okay. In that case, can't you just make us a new power core?
Yes, but I need some kind of strong energy source for that.
And you just make one of those too? I'm just asking.
No, but somewhere around here are the plans for an energy sensor.
That's awfully convenient.
I designed it a long time ago, before I made you. I even found a sodium iodide crystal to use in the sensor, though man alone knows where it's buried now.
Weary wanderers, come, join us in Metropole, city of glass and light.
Crispin, why is your diary still scattered all over the floor?
Are you going to keep nagging me until we run out of power, boss?
Yes.
Come, join us in Metropole.
I don't need any of these right now.
Let's hope it stays that way.
All are equal in Metropole, equal parts of the greater whole.
I've never been able to figure it out.
Together, let us begin a new Primordium. Weary wanderers, come, join us in Metropole. Weary wanderers, come.
I bet I can find a better use for this plug.
But now we can't listen to the sweet voice of Metropole.
I guess that makes two birds. It's Crispin's to-do list. Funny how it never gets any shorter.
That's your fault, boss, not mine.
The original designs for Crispin.
Hey, there are arms here, and an awesome set of tractor treads.
I went with a maglev unit instead, and I never could find good arms. There's the design. I'll put the keynotes into my data pouch.
How does it even work?
The crystal pulses when it absorbs energy. The cable carries the pulse to the computer. The computer decodes the information and displays it on the monitor.
Boss, where are we going to find a working computer?
The Unique is full of them.
Oh, right.
The energy sensor requires a sodium iodide crystal connected to a cable, which in turn needs to be connected to a CPU and a monitor. There's nothing I can do with it until I have some kind of power source. The only way I can use this is by plugging... I doubt that will happen. A simple computer interface with a socket for connecting external... It fits, but there's no point unless I connect the plug to... A simple computer... The monitor is designed to socket directly into a CPU. A simple computer... The only way... I don't think that would be wise.
Wow, first the power core and now a rag. This is not your day.
I don't think that would be wise.
That's crazy.
I can't pick that up. Nothing more to do with it.
Boss, is it okay if I sleep in the cradle until we have a new power core?
No. I've never been able... I don't need that. We're fine on it.
I still don't see why I don't get a bed.
Because you have a flat bottom to rest on.
Looking at my bottom, are you, boss?
I can't pick that up.
I'm pretty...
Aha! Here's the crystal.
right under our noses. That is, if we had noses.
The plug is not that universal. It only attaches to electronics.
Are you really trying to build us an energy sensor from a bunch of garbage?
Crispin, I built you from a bunch of garbage.
From spare parts, boss. Spare parts.
Well, just goes to show. Garbage in, greatness out. I need to plug them into a... Now we just need to check out these coordinates.
But didn't you just tell me we don't have enough power to go walking all over the dunes?
No, I said we couldn't walk to Metropole. Anyway, most of these are close by.
But what if it's picking up, oh, I don't know, a radioactive rust monster?
A what?
Or a giant cannibal robot?
There's no such thing.
Or an unexploded bomb?
I highly doubt that.
Or a giant lightning storm?
Okay, you're right. We need to know what's out there before we take off. It's just a matter of figuring out how.
Why is nothing easy?
I can think of one reason. Geo-coordinates for various locations. Feudal. I'll need to get a closer look to see how it fits together. I doubt that will have any effect. A simple computer interface with a socket. Feudal. 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 Nothing but radioactive waste. We can't salvage anything from that.
Boss? That looks like a giant cannibal robot to me.
It looks promising is what it looks like.
And with that, poor doomed Horatio stuck his head into the giant's mouth.
That's strange. The sensor detected an energy source in the junk pile. Maybe we should go look more carefully.
Boss, how in the world are we gonna find a power source in all this junk?
Still locked. Ha. Man's creation.
That is one big robot.
Then it must have a big power core.
I'm pretty sure he wants to eat me, boss.
Robots don't eat, Crispin.
Look how he's staring at me.
It's not staring at anything.
No, not yet anyway.
Well, we have to find a way to get at its power core. Let's look around. Anyone home? Crispin, help me take a look at these vents. I can feel air moving. I can feel air moving. There's no way I can reach that.
That is...
Crispin, try putting this in the robot's nose.
Why? I'm not sticking things up that nose just for the sake of it, boss.
Crispin, try putting this in the robot's nose.
Why? I'm not sticking...
I can feel... I doubt that will have any effect. It's corroded, but I can't break into it with my bare hands.
Boss, are you really gonna cut that finger off?
Just the tip,
Why?
to see if we can get at power cables to tap into.
You sure you're not just torturing the poor guy?
No, but to tell you the truth, for some reason I don't like the look of him.
That's what I've been saying all along, boss.
Just let me concentrate. Bugs and glitches. There are no power lines running through here at all. All that for a rusty fingertip.
Can it generate power?
No.
Just checking.
A giant fingertip made of corroded steel. There's no way I can reach that. Crispin, try shoving this into that vent.
There's something ironic about that. Ironic and disturbing.
Can you fly up and scout around?
That is honestly the worst idea you've ever had.
But
Worse than when you upgraded the dehumidifiers and the unique.
it might be...
Worse than when you used your plasma torch as a lantern just to see if it would work.
a way in.
I can't fit.
There's no way I can...
Not gonna happen.
Crispin, try putting this in the...
What? I'm not...
There's no way I...
I think I see a giant brain?
Can you reach it?
No, the duct gets too narrow. I think I see a giant...
Can you reach it?
No, the duct...
There's no way... Crispin, try putting this...
What? I'm not...
Crispin,
What? I'm not...
there's no... Crispin,
Why? I'm not... I think I see it...
can you reach it?
No, the duct gets too narrow. I think I...
Can you reach...
No.
Crispin, try...
What? I'm... That?
There's no way... Crispin,
What? I'm not...
there's no way... That's never go... That's... Few... Anyone home? I doubt that will happen. I doubt that...
Just count to 1,000, Crispin. He's not going to eat you. You're too fast for him.
Are you talking to yourself?
No.
I picked... There's nothing... Better just to leave it alone. It's just scrap. It's closed.
How do you think a train wound up?
Maybe they brought it here by boat.
Very funny.
I'd run out of power before I even got a tenth of the way through searching for that power source we detected. I'd run out of power before...
If that red light went off, I bet the train would start going.
Crispin, sometimes I think you're trying to get me to waste time.
Who, me?
There's no reason... I would waste... There's no reason to... It's a reinforced steel. There's no reason to cut... Ha! Not after what happened last time I gave it to him. I'd run out of power before... is just scrap. More waste.
Well, you're the one who...
Scrap is...
If you say so, Bob.
It's pitch black.
Boss, that's because the telescope's pointing straight down at the deck.
Oh. Strange. There's some kind of odd device surrounded by glass. Whatever that machine is, it must be throwing off some kind of energy.
Why do I not like the sound of this?